All right. So let's go ahead and let me just kind of dive into a little bit of what we can expect going against USC this weekend and kind of some of the variables coming into this game. Now, of course, we have the Nebraska side where you're coming in with a brand new play caller. So you have an instance where you're trying to kind of mold a couple of styles of offense together and create something that's a little different than what we've been doing, but not too complex. Because if you get with, the complexities, then the execution issues will rear their ugly head. I think right now what it needs to be is a simplification of what we've done and sticking to the basic concepts and getting our way down the field methodically. It's very important what we do on first and second down. The Houston Texans, as you can see, I'm a Houston Texans fan, right? One of the biggest things that hurt them this last week, constantly in 3rd and 8, first and second down behind the chains. That is killer to your offense. And that is what has been killer to Nebraska's offense. And we've started to see, Raiola kind of make some mistakes and some of the indications that you'll see that he is kind of, not able to, or just kind of like not reading the field the way he should, just because I feel like the pressure and the hits are wearing up on him. And also, he's a little bit banged up. But even before that, the problem is when you start to kind of throw it to those linebackers. And when you're doing that, that means your eyes are kind of not seeing the field and reading the field the way they were earlier in the season. That kind of look away he did to the linebacker where he kind of changed the arm slot and angle. We haven't seen that. We've seen him kind of get lurked by some of these linebackers and then be able to kind of, trick him by taking a step towards the line or backing out, or even just not even really. They just kind of are sitting there and he just kind of, takes the first read over the top. So kind of getting him into a rhythm. And that's the biggest thing. And this is going to be a rhythm versus rhythm game because Jaden Mayava is a quarterback who's very much rhythm, right? You'll see about 40% of what he does is off of play action. So, which is a very, very high percentage. Now, he's a guy who's going to add a dynamicism to this offense. But I'll get into him a little bit more in a second. First, I just want to kind of go into what USC has kind of struggled with this season. And when it comes to Lincoln Riley's very much on the hot seat in USC land with their fan base. And they have kind of been calling, the fans have been calling for Miller Moss to kind of, get benched over the last, couple weeks, just because he started to make some boneheaded errors. And we saw earlier in the season, there was flashes. There was big flashes of really good from him. But now we get to the point of the season where, he's making mistakes, 10 turnovers and 24 turnover worthy plays, right? That is not a quarterback that's going to be able to win you a lot of football games. And as you've seen, USC's been in a lot of games, but hasn't been able to pull some of those out. And you look at the Michigan game, for instance, like there's opportunities there on the table that they're leaving that really are losing them these games. And their record, doesn't necessarily indicate how bad they are because it's a super talented team. This team is talent rich. Lincoln Riley, is a good coach at the end of the day and can scheme up an offense. Their defense has been dropping the ball a little bit from what it was early in the season. So, still some growing pains on that with the Deanton Lynn switch. This offseason, they have had some more physicality than I expected. They've been physical at times and they've been able to hold up to some physical teams. But, over the last few weeks, the defense just has not had the same kind of luster that it did earlier on in the season when they were kind of making their headway a little bit with that defense. So let me try to stay up with the comments here. I'll keep kind of getting into these. Crypto King, what's up? How you doing, my man? Wrong Justin. There's too many of us. Fongway, well, I'm happy about at least Rule showed he's willing to make necessary changes. Everyone said Sat should have been gone last year, but to be fair, it's hard to judge with. That was my thing on Sat last year, and talking to some of the, when talking about this offseason and what a lot of the fans were talking about in regards to, his performance. We had an injury-ridden team. The left side of that line was gone, at most part of the season, midway through the season towards the end. And then you had a running back room that was decimated. You were down to a redshirt freshman, Emmett Johnson, who did pretty well, things considered, and then your terrible quarterback room. So last year to me was a little bit of a patchwork offense of what, he kind of wants, he kind of had to work with what he had. And so I was like, let's give it this year and let's see, with a quarterback and with another year of kind of development under these players' belts, what he's able to do with his offense as he wants it to go, whenever he has the personnel that he wants running this offense. And that hasn't turned out to be a very good thing. So, the biggest thing with him is just the lack of creativity and unpredictability, because everything that he's been doing, earlier in the season, it may have worked, but kind of like the Ohio State receiver said, right? He saw that pass he intercepted. He saw that on film. He saw that same route concept on film, and they ran it again, and he just read it perfectly, right? And you can't do that in college football. You got guys who are film nerds, and coaches watch film, and they're going to notice those patterns. And so you have to be able to mix it up. And again, we've seen teams with less talent do this to Nebraska. Illinois, they're not as talented as Nebraska in terms of just recruiting rankings, but the way they played as a unit kept Nebraska on their heels with their constant just, methodically moving the ball down the field. And Nebraska is just so reliant on those big explosive plays. And another thing that I, pointed to earlier this season was the fact that, even with kind of how well we were doing, there were still a lot of points left on the field against Northern Iowa, against UTEP. And a lot of what was helping our offense go against Purdue and those teams too were some pass interference calls. Raiola was doing a good job of identifying man coverage on the outside against your Isaiah Nair and your Jamal Banks, your big body guys, to where, they would get those guys in a press man one-on-one situation, and you're going to throw it up, and they're either, Jamal Banks either going to go up and get it, or, it's going to be a pass interference, or it's going to just drop incomplete, right? And we've lost a little bit of that because I don't think Dylan's as comfortable as he was in the pocket before. So let's see. What's up, Joe Schmo? Appreciate you hopping in here. Dion should give us your email for Huskers group. Try to get Dion's email. Okay. I don't know what Huskers group you're talking about. Well, I'm not invited. Mike, what's going on, Mike? Let me see. I'm just trying to go through his comments. Dion, there's many of us in the Huskers group that went in. We chat 24/7. You talking about the one on Twitter? Though I do think that Holgorsen will not be afraid to get in their faces and tell them they stink. That aggressive nature of Holgorsen is really, something I do like about him. He's going to go in there, and he's going to not tolerate. But he's going to have to kind of mind his way in there. He's not going to be able to just go and immediately hammer in. But I do think he's going to bring a level of accountability. He's just a very hard-nosed coach. And he's going to bring a level of accountability that I think this offense needs. It seemed like Marcus Satterfield was just a little bit too laid back. And Marcus Satterfield almost seemed reactionary to me with how he coaches versus proactive. And I just think maybe he was, kind of in over his head at a program like Nebraska. I do think that having him on the staff will be beneficial, naturally, because he has that cohesion with Matt Rule. With the fact that they've been together so long, Baylor, Temple, et cetera. And so there is that, and he's over the tight end rooms, and credit to him, he was out on the recruiting trail as well. So Satterfield was still getting out. He went and saw Tanner Church. And, the staff went out, Knight and Rule. They went out recruiting in the Houston area. So yeah, he's, Satterfield's still staying out there on the recruiting trail. I don't necessarily think Satterfield needs to be fired. I just don't think he needs to be the head man in charge of the offense anymore. I do think he brings value as a coach, though. I don't think we can sit here and say he doesn't bring any value. I do think he will be good at whatever he does end up doing on this team, which right now is the tight ends. But of course, this is a trial run. Sorry to pop my neck. This is a trial run for Dana Holgorsen to take over in 2025 as well. So everyone is flipping like the International House of Pancakes. That is true. Also, to my fellow veterans, happy Veterans Day. I know it was yesterday, but to anybody who served, thank y'all as well. Everybody thanked me. I appreciate y'all as well. So just wanted to throw that out there before I forget. I don't think we will see huge changes on offense. Absolutely not. No, we're not. I think we'll see an offense that is efficient at the plays they do run. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I said, simplifying this offense into a way that you can kind of methodically move your way down the field. Let's just get some hitches. Let's get some out routes. Again, some of the Purdue film that I saw in that first half against Purdue, some of like those first 3 drives, I mean, it was just insane how some of those route concepts were 30 yards down the field and there was no underneath dump off option on second down. And then third down, you try to run a quick slant and an obvious passing down on a third and long. It's little things like that. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just randomness to his play calling. Now, the way that, and I think this is the biggest difference, the way that Dana Holgorsen is going to run this offense is the way the air raid works is you have to set everything up, right? And you're just trying to manipulate the box, right? You're trying to get spread out on the field. You're trying to get those wide receivers out spread wide. You're trying to get that defense spread wide. You want them to cover as much grass as possible, and make them cover space. And that's going to open up bigger windows for Raiola. Guys, some of these windows that he's throwing into right now are very, very tight. And it's because Nebraska has just not had the ball moving laterally. We cannot move the ball laterally effectively. So if we can get some quick hitting routes on the outside, just some stuff. It doesn't have to be behind the line of scrimmage. No, I'm done with that behind the line of scrimmage crap. Let's get it up the field, past the line of scrimmage, and just get some rhythm throws. Again, that's what we're going to see from USC, from Jordan Mayava. So it's going to be one of those things where we can be methodical and approach our way down the field, and we're going to need to keep USC's offense off of the field as much as possible and try to wear that defense down. Right now, Nebraska is a pretty heavy underdog in that game. So let's see. I was more impressed with UCLA tape efficiency-wise, but the USC O-line was impressive. Yeah. Efficiency was better. It's the inconsistency for me that's the issue. And I think by this point in the season, look at Miller Moss. Again, early in the season, Miller Moss had some incredible moments, great moments, but at the end of the day, this is late in the season. And if these things are still rearing their head and there's not progression and the coaching isn't progressing, we may get a little bit better with efficiency, but I feel like we do that occasionally and then we'll take a step back. And then, like I said, it's a lot of the repeat, but hopefully that Holgorsen standard can come in here and simplify it, because I mean, the air raid too does give an opportunity to give your playmakers space and let them operate in space. And I think that's what this offense is going to operate the best in. Now, with the air raid, talking about running the ball, again, I just want to point this out there that he's had an offense of that at West Virginia that ran for over 200 yards in 2016. So he's adapted to, being able to balance that offense out. Just because it's called the air raid, it's not the traditional air raid of old, right? It's more so of a balanced attack, but it still has the air raid concepts, of course, and the ones that work. And that is going to be very important because we can finally kind of put two balance things together. You have a Big Ten style of coaching staff, and you have Holgorsen who's coming in with this air raid, and try to blend those two together and mold the best offense you can. And with this offense, it's been a collaborative effort the entire time. Glenn Thomas said this offseason that there's no ego in terms of how they game plan this offense, which means everybody's going to have a say. Everybody has, input into the offensive game plan for the week. So let's see. We need someone to coach the wide receivers how to block. Yeah. I know for sure that I'm drawing a blank on his name. Oh my gosh, his son just transferred from Oregon, or was committed to Oregon. Oh my God, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name. I just talked about him earlier, but he's coaching the skill players as well. And so, yeah, that's going to be important. I'm curious to hear what, or if they can ask some kind of question on what we're doing to improve that. And I do think a lot of it might be just due to the play calling, putting them in bad situations, just because not always, but there are a couple times on film. Yeah. Mosey. There are a couple times on film where I'm seeing plays blown up by cornerbacks, defensive backs triggering downhill. And, recognizing the play before our wide receivers are even set up in a position to block. And so a lot of this, I think, is being picked up on film because of some of the issues. So I don't think all of it is perimeter blocking issues, but a lot of it is. This team is struggling on the perimeter to block, and it's going to be very tough. And that's why I don't think we can do stuff behind the line of scrimmage too terribly much. We're going to need to kind of get it beyond the line of scrimmage and try it that way. If we can't get yak yards after the catch, then at least, our average depth of target, 3, 4, 5 yards, getting ahead of the sticks and being able to kind of get on third and shorts. That's going to be imperative, especially if we want to, kind of continue this run game. But, having those wide splits in his offense and his offensive line, he likes to mix in those wide splits, and the air raid is typical. It's occasional wider split situationally. So it's going to create some more run lanes. But it's also going to make our linemen have to be a little bit more, a little quicker. You're going to have to try to cover that space, and your combo blocks aren't going to be as easy. Your duo blocks, when you're trying to get up to the second level, you check, knock him off his base and try to get to the second level. Those aren't going to be as easy with those lanes open. I believe you're going to see Emmett Johnson emerge with Holgorsen. That'll be our short yard back. You know me, Emmett's my guy. Emmett is my guy. I'd agree. And when I had Anthony Grant on, Anthony Grant, played with him, of course, and Anthony Grant agreed with me. He just said Emmett's just a cerebral guy, and he's that dude. I expect a lot of changes on offense in the offseason. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Mosey, yep, Mosey. That's right. And my ADHD, man, I'll have something in my head, and then it'll just go away as soon as I think of something else. What channel is the women's basketball game on? Good question. I have no idea. My sources at Goodwill have confirmed that Holgorsen is going to have Micah Mizuka run the Wildcat all game. I wouldn't mind that, actually. How come we never see IGC in the mix? That's tough. I don't know. That one, there seems to be maybe, just, I don't know if it's just kind of him lagging behind because of the injury, but not a lot of, insight coming out of that. Not a lot of questions coming in, about that. I just think it might be one of those things where he's that's where he's just falling on the depth chart right now. And, while I do wish we would get a little bit of more of a versatility, and maybe, you look at guys like, I'm drawing a blank on every name today, but just in general, when it comes to the pecking order of this wide receiver room, with Jamal Banks and Isaiah Mosey, Isaiah Nair, and then you have, your young guys. It's just probably hard for him to fit in, especially coming off of the injuries, stuff like that. He did put on some weight, but I know they like him specifically, kind of back helping return. So no show tonight, my ass. What a show we have here. Oh, geez. No show tonight. Who said that? That I heard IGC was limited due to lingering injury. That's kind of what I'm talking about, with just the injury kind of holding him back a little bit. And it's hard. It's hard when you come off of an injury or multiple injuries too, mentally, right? Because you have to regain confidence in that. You have to regain confidence to be able to go out and play full speed and, not risk re-injury. And that's part of some of the stuff that I said Badoni, would struggle with probably early on from his injury back, is just getting the confidence to be able to play on that leg again. Steph Thompson's another one. When Syracuse, he tore his ACL, was in a green practice jersey, and tried to get better as the season went along and try to get used to live game reps. So that is very possible. Is Andy that one guy? What's going on, Andy? All right. Let me go ahead and dive into a little bit of Jordan Mayava. All right, let me pull this up. I want to just first, I'm going to pull up kind of his numbers when it comes to his PFF grade. I actually might throw up his throw up a little bit of this Mayava film tape first, because I do want to show y'all some of this film here. And let me go ahead and get over to this screen. Okay, so all right, so right here I have some Kansas film for you. And there's a couple of things that I want to show you on this, and I'll show you a couple of flaws here. And I'll also show you a little bit of film from the Michigan tape, to where they're going to, let me see. What Michigan did very well against them last year is they brought a lot of pressure, right? They brought a lot of pressure, and really mixed up kind of the timing. And Maava being a rhythm quarterback, like I said, he does have a strong arm, but he's going to be coming off of play action the majority of the time, and about 40% at least when he was at UNLV. So we can expect to probably see a hefty dose of that. Um, I just don't know why my stuff just doesn't want to cooperate every time I'm on my live stream. It'll play smaller for some reason, but maybe if I zoom it in. All right. So let me just kind of show you some of his highlights here, or some of his plays here. So this is one that I wanted to spotlight here, because what you're going to see here is he does have the occasional, he puts his eyes down occasionally. And you're going to see it right here on this play. And I'm going to let it run for a little bit. Okay, so right here he's dropping back, and he's going to step in his pocket, and he's going to, he's evasive in the pocket, puts his head down for a second, gets his eyes back up the field, and kind of throws it a little short. He does have, that tendency to put his eyes down a little bit whenever he's moving, but this did get better as the season went along, in terms of his film. And there's just a lot of, zone reads, a lot of move in the pocket, and he's going to get a lot of short stuff. He's just going to really trying to get a lot of the short stuff going. But then you'll see, like this play, there's another one I want to spotlight right here. Okay, what you're going to see right here is him trying to do a little too much, right? It's a little bit risky, what he tries to do sometimes. So let me let this play out a little bit. I don't know why when I full screen, it's just not working. All right, so you see the bad snap. Now he's rolling back, kind of off platform, going backwards. And you're going to see an opportunity here where, he could pump fake this, or, this is one of those plays where you just want to live to fight another down, or live to fight another play, right? And so instead, he's going to try to make something out of nothing, throws it into double coverage. He was looking that route down the whole way, intercepted. Okay, so there's a little bit of, some of the things that he does, that Nebraska can take advantage of. But when we're talking about plays like this, he does have the ability to make huge, big time throws like this. So let this run a little bit. So this is 3rd and 12, against Nevada. And you'll see it's just a go route down the left side. He has his guy beat, but he puts the throw right on the money. And it's hard to see because the ding camera zooms way out, but hits him in stride. You'll see throws it right there, catches it right there, hits him perfectly in stride. So he does have that ability. But what Nebraska has been susceptible to over the last few weeks, especially, is that deep pass, right? That deep explosive pass play. So now let's go ahead and look at some of this versus Michigan. And what Michigan was able to really do well is wreak havoc in the pocket. And what he did early on was, you see early on, he was able to kind of do some stuff, get some rhythm throws. So early on in the game, right there, see, that was a throw on target, but it goes off his receiver's hands. So like, he was making a lot of rhythm throws early in that game. We'll let it play a little bit more. And you're just going to see but relentless pressure on him from these Michigan defenders, right? And of course, Michigan last year is a bit of a good team. We'll put it that way. But you can kind of see some of the stunts they're bringing, 3-3-5 looks. And it's really just disrupting his timing, because he's going to be wanting throw to the flat routes. He's going to be wanting to throw those RPOs. He's going to be wanting to move the pocket and get in those timings. If you can contain him to the pocket and disrupt his timing, it's going to make his life a lot more difficult. See here, a fake handoff on the inside. He's going to throw to that guy and get upfield. Now he's still kind of making these throws when he has time. But as the pressure adds up, and as he gets more and more pressure, you see each and every play right here. Again, pressure. Okay. Now, what does he start doing when he starts getting that pressure? You're going to see a little bit more of, his eyes coming down. Again, not looking down the field, just trying to make something happen. And then you'll see some of these throws here, gets a little tighter on these throws. Rolling left. Oh, it's the same play. Sorry. Gets a little bit tighter on these throws and starts kind of short arming. You can tell he starts to think, seeing Ghost back there again. And this is where Nebraska is going to have the opportunity to cause disruption and make, some turnovers. And he's a little bit tricked sometimes by, if you show a shell, rolling coverage over to a cover three. Let's say you show a cover two shell, rotate over to cover three. I think Nebraska can benefit from getting very, very creative with that, and also just the defensive fronts. What Tony White's been doing with the defensive fronts lately have been awesome. But let's let this run a little bit more. There you see. So those are the throws that he wants to make. Those rhythm throws to the outside. Here, quick hitting, get the ball out of his hands, and he does want to throw deep and set up that deep because, like I said, he does have a really, really big arm. But again, it's just all about keeping. It's going to be all about keeping everything in front of Nebraska, because I think if Nebraska can keep everything in front of them and not be on their heels, just kind of get the pressure after them, I think it's going to be a much different game than the spread indicates. But again, here you see right there, throws it, receiver drops it. Okay, now you're going to see this next throw. You're going to see these kind of start to tighten up, and you see he's getting a little bit more jumpy in the pocket as well. So right there was a scramble again, pressure. Right here, empty back. I don't know why they go empty back when he's getting pressure. That did not make sense to me. But like this, right? Here's one example right here. Got him backed up. All right, you see this route is about to come open right here. He's already kind of throwing this guy, but this guy does break down on this route, but you'll see the throw is just nowhere where it needs to be, and he's in a clean pocket right now. Just completely underthrows it. Short arms it, underthrows it, right? And this is where, right there, receiver drops it. Like, it's just disrupting these plays. And it'll be interesting to see how Lincoln Riley gets creative with, his arm and his ability. But Nebraska's going to have to be very, very cognizant of the quarterback run. Very cognizant of the quarterback run. And Miller Moss scared me in a way because his ability to throw the ball and his tendency to be able to make explosive plays. I wasn't sure if Nebraska was going to be able to go blow for blow potentially with him. But again, I do think, a lot of USC fans that I've talked to have said this is giving them the ability to, this gives them the best opportunity to win. They feel like they don't think Miller Moss is the guy next year. This is Jaden Mayava's chance to really prove himself as that QB1 going into next season. And Mike, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the super chat as always, man. Thank you all so much to everybody who contributes. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, even so much as a view helps. So thank you so much to everybody who always wants to help out. Shout out to the Crypto King, the people in the chat. Shout out to our host. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of trickery in this game. I would love to see I wouldn't either. I think this is one of those things where Nebraska's an underdog in this game. And I think they are going to have to make some things happen on their own. And I think with that is going to be, they're going to have to get a little bit, there's going to be the simplifications, but if we can roll out a couple of concepts out there that aren't too, now the thing is, you want it to be, if you are going to get tricky, you want it to be a simplified version still, just because you don't want those execution issues to blow up in your face. But maybe have one or two in a situation, maybe on a 4th and short, have a 4th and 5 situation, or just something like that, just to pull on a first down, just pull a rabbit out of a hat, but ensure that it's a play that how to get out of without forcing a turnover. If it's not there, understand that there's going to be ability to throw the ball away. You have to know what you're doing in that play, and you have to be ready for all scenarios. So I don't necessarily love the trick plays that we've been doing behind the line of scrimmage to, with Heinrich Harburg throwing it back to Raiola. We ran that a couple times this season. I don't know if you remember, but you had Jeff Sims' first touchdown of his Nebraska career off of one of those plays, and he dropped the ball and then, of course, threw it for a wide open touchdown. But yeah, I want to see the simplified stuff first, but then if the trickery comes, let's make sure it's very well executed.